Hello everyone, welcome back to Believer Science Academy, Bengaluru. This is daily news analysis session. In this session, as usual, we'll be discussing some 6 to 7 important articles. So without any delay, we'll start the session. The first article is from the Hindu. The articles for today, that is 17th January 2025. The first article is from Hindu, the text and context. It deals with understanding the legal and ethical dimensions of blood money. Okay, so what is blood money then? Blood money, also known as diya in Arabic, is a financial compensation offered to the victim's family in case of murder, bodily harm, or property damage under Islamic law. Okay, so it is a form of compensation provided to murder or bodily harm, any other kind of harm under Islamic law. Okay, the purpose of this blood money is offer reparative justice to victims or families, serve as an alternative to kisa. Kisa in Arabic is retribution. Okay, instead of retribution we can provide a reparative justice to family or the friends. Fostering forgiveness and reconciliation. It focuses on forgiveness and reconciliations, and it reduces likelihood of cycles of vengeance and promote community harmony. Meaning, if you are going to kill person from my family, I am going to kill person from your family, and that cycle goes on increase, like keeps on cycling. Okay, the cycle keeps on happening. It will result in blood chaos, etc., etc. In order to avoid these things, blood money was seen as an alternative. However, there are certain criticisms, as you can see that. So, how does it actually function under Islamic law? Purpose is, as I already told you, it emphasizes on forgiveness, aligning with Sharia principles of restorative justice. It provides victim families with an option between retribution and financial compensation. Okay, instead of going for retribution, you can have a financial compensation, for which you will reduce the blood bath, etc., etc. Then the legal framework. The diya amount is often subject to negotiation and varies by factors such as victim's gender, religion, and circumstances. Okay, Sharia treats homicide as a civil issue between families, giving victims has significant powers in deciding the resolution. Okay, so these are the legal framework under Islamic law, but it is not followed everywhere. Then we will see what is the position, India's position on blood money. Okay, India does not formally recognize diya in its legal system. Instead, the murder or bodily harm is considered as a criminal justice instead of civil justice or civil issue in Islamic law. Here it is considered as a criminal justice focus. The emphasis is on straight administered justice and punitive measures. Okay, it is not a civil which will be dealt by the families. Instead, it is a criminal where it will be dealt by state supported law enforcement agencies. Then, plea bargaining. It was introduced under Criminal Law Amendment Act of 2005. Plea bargaining allows negotiated settlements in certain cases, but this is distinct from diya. Okay, there is settlements are present there, but it is distinct from diya in the sense that there will be no money involved there, and the compensation will most probably be negotiated. Instead of, it is not for the you say murder, it can be only for loss of property, etc., etc. Then cultural context. In Indian law does not integrate the cultural or religious base of diya seen in Islamic jurisprudence. Okay, so blood money doesn't have a constitution or doesn't have a legal backing in Indian legal system because it is not covered under Indian laws. Okay, then what are the notable cases of Indians pardoned via blood money? That is, though it is not accepted in India, it is accepted in several Islamic or Gulf countries who follow Islamic law or Sharia law. For example, several Indians in Gulf countries have been pardoned through diya. Examples include in UAE 2017, 10 Indians were pardoned after paying 20,000 dirhams as blood money. Okay, so even if you kill or even if you harm someone, if you are able to pay a certain amount, then you will be pardoned in that particular. Similarly, in UAE 2009, 17 Indians on death row were pardoned after payment of nearly 4 crore rupees facilitated by the Indian consulate and legal representation. Okay, so there have been examples, but what are the challenges and way forward? The challenges in the sense there is limited awareness among the Indian expatriate about the local laws. Okay, so Indians should be made aware of these kind of local laws. It doesn't mean that you do murder someone or harm someone and then pay money and get out of it, but just to know that there are certain alternatives whenever you are accused of or whenever you are like convicted of certain issues such as certain cases such as murder or bodily harm, etc., etc. Then complex negotiations often require significant diplomatic and legal sources. Lack of structured frameworks for facilitating blood money arrangements. Okay, so these are the challenges with respect to blood money. So what should be the proposed measures? That is strengthening the diplomatic efforts. That is establishing legal and consular mechanisms for Indians abroad, particularly in countries practicing DIA. Okay, and then educating expatriates, that is conducting awareness campaigns on local laws to minimize legal conflicts. Okay, as they say, be a Roman in Rome. Okay, in order to be Roman in Rome, you need to know about the local culture, local laws, and other things in order to avoid legal conflicts. So, if you are living in a particular city, if you are living in a particular country, if you are living in a particular state, then follow the customs of the particular state. Okay, so that will be considered as a local, so that will be considered as a normal person there. Then, collaborating internationally. Engage with host countries to ensure fair treatment and transparent resolution for Indian nationals. Okay, so kind of important from UPS perspective, but just to have an you should know about this blood money. There can be questions on discussion like this in the interview also. So I just thought it will be important for people who are preparing for interview as well. Then, what is the second article? It is from the Indian Express. It talked about the Indian explained pages. It was about legal guarantee for MSP, whether there should be a legal backing for MSP, whether there should be legislation which is supporting MSP. So it talks about key points. It debates. Okay. So why it is in news again? Why it is the debate? Farmers are demanding a legal MSP to protect incomes amid market volatility, rural distress, and climate change. Critics cite fiscal instability and market distortion against their claims. Okay, so arguments for legal MSP is that it will provide income protection. That is, it shields farmers from price crashes. Example: onion price crashes, tomato crashes, which happens during now and then. It also provides rural security, meaning most of the rural economy is based on agriculture. So if you're providing agriculture income protection, it will obviously provide rural security. That is, it will reduce poverty, distress, and suicides in vulnerable areas. Food security, that it encourages stable production of essential crops for PDS. Okay, so there are positives of MSP. Then these are the arguments which the supporters of legal MSP provide for. Now, what does the critics say then? What are the arguments against MSP? That it will lead to market distortion. Distortion in the sense it will lead to overproduction of certain crops which can harm the ecosystem. Certain crops in the sense crops which are covered under MSP. Farmers will tend to grow those crops which are covered under MSP because they have income protection there. So it will have a negative impact on the ecosystems as well. Okay. Then fiscal strain, that is extending MSP across crops would be financially unviable for government as well. Okay, so they say that instead of legal MSP, there are certain alternatives. What are the alternatives to direct procurement? That is expanding food basket. That is include more crops under public distribution system. Okay, so that more crops can be procured, more crops can be made available for the people. Then market intervention, that is stabilizing prices when below MSP. Okay, whenever the market price goes below the MSP, then government should come up and stabilize the market prices. Then price deficit payment, that is compensating farmers for the gap between market price and MSP. This is an aspect under PM Asha. Okay, in PM Asha, there are three. One is MSP or income support. Another one is PDP, price deficiency procurement system. Third one is PPP. Okay, procurement stockage system, PPSP. Okay, so in price deficiency, whatever the gap is there between the market price and MSP, that will be paid to the farmers itself. Okay, they will ask farmers to sell at the market price, and then the remaining gap will be paid directly through DBT to farmers. Whereas in private procurement stock system, the government asks the farmers or the government asks the procurement or the private companies to procure at the MSP rate. Okay, whatever be the market rate, procure at MSP rate, and the gap between MSP and market rate will be provided to the private individuals. Okay, so these are certain aspects of PM Asha scheme. So that is what one of the alternative the article is suggesting. So moving forward, the way forward should be strengthening decentralized procurement and PDP mechanisms. Decentralized in the sense, states should be provided enough authority. There is authority for states, certain southern states procure themselves and provide PDPs. This should be allowed for other states also, so that there can be more efficient utilization of food crops. Then promote crop diversification linked to MSP with better infrastructure. Then balance farmer welfare with fiscal sustainability and market efficiency. Okay, so instead of providing legal MSP, we can diversify and we can improve the infrastructure so that there will be less leakages. We can also diversify the food basket. We can also balance farmer welfare as well. Okay, so very important topic. There can be a question on legal MSP, so just have an idea about it. Then there was an article in the Hindu, and it was covered by most of the newspapers. It is about Makara Vilakku festival. Okay, Makara Vilakku festival. It is Makara Vilakku festival is recently celebrated at Shabarimala Ayyappa temple in Kerala on the eve of Makara Sankranti festival. What is this Makara Vilakku festival? It is an annual Hindu festival at the Shabarimala temple in Kerala dedicated to Lord Ayyappa. Occurs during the Makara Sankranti, marking sun's entry into Capricorn, that is Makara Rashi. Then it is celebrated. It takes place in Periyar Tiger Reserve in Kerala, where the Ayyappa temple is present. Then the festival spans for 7 days, beginning on Makara Sankranti and ends on 7 days after Makara Sankranti. So during this, the key rituals and events are Makara Vilakku lamp, that is a symbolic lamp will be lit at Ponnam Balamedu, near a temple on Makara Sankranti evening. So it is a large, it is a hill which is opposite to the temple, where you will be able to see the rays of a particular lamp. Okay, and then Makara Jyoti, a divine star believed to appear, symbolizing Lord Ayyappa's blessing. This Makara Jyoti will be seen opposite to the temple on top of a hill. Then devotion practices, that is devotees observe 40-day vratam, that is penance involving celibacy, purity and spiritual discipline before visiting the temple. Okay, in celibacy, purity, they will go for teetotality and they will avoid eating all kinds of non-veg. They will be turned vegan in these regions, and they will stop using like bad words, etc., etc. Then significance is, it symbolizes the merging of celestial and the spiritual energies. The celestial here is sun, which is revolving around, in a sense earth will be revolving around, but hypothetically sun will be moving crossing the Capricorn, and spiritual in the sense human beings and the Lord Ayyappa. This emphasizes devotion, purity and self-discipline and equality, with the devotees wearing a simple attire and carrying the sacred Irumudikattu. Okay, they will carry Irumudikattu on their head and they will go walk on the road for many kilometers and reach the temple and then pray there. Okay, so this Shabarimala temple was a source of controversy for almost 3-4 years because of temple entry to women. Okay, temple entry to women, where Supreme Court said that women should also be allowed to enter into the temple. The case is very important. What was the case? Young Lawyers Association case. Young Lawyers Association case. Okay, so this is about Makara Vilakku festival. Then, fourth article, it is an editorial from the Hindu. It talks about an alliance of democracies with India at its core. Okay, this article discusses strengthening democratic alliances, particularly between Europe and India, as a global democracies face challenges in 2025. Okay, so most of the global democracies in the world are facing challenges because though the countries are democratic, the ideas which are engulfing those countries are anti-democratic. Okay, most of the countries are moving towards majoritarianism, most of the countries are moving towards protectionism, most of the countries are moving towards far right. Okay, that is why this article discusses what should be the role of India and Europe in this aspect. It also talks about key challenges that all is not well between India and EU. That is, while India and European Union have had long-standing relationship, progress has often been hindered by prolonged free trade agreement negotiations. Okay, almost has been carried for almost 4 to 5 years now. Okay, 4 to 5 years, and yet the free trade agreement has not been finalized. Despite that, we can focus on other points. That is, we should focus beyond trade. The article or the other urges for a broader focus on geopolitics, including economic security, defense cooperation, and emerging technologies. Then it also talks about geopolitical realignment, that is, it highlights Europe's frustration over India's ties with Russia, while noting India's rivalry with China and aligning with democratic values. Okay, so like here, the geopolitical realignment in the sense every country in their geopolitical interest will always look after their own interest. Okay, so India's interest here is its ties with Russia because Russia has been a long-standing friend of India. During the Russia-Ukraine war, most of the European countries sanctioned Russia. Most of the European countries stopped buying oil from the Russia, whereas India saw this opportunity and started helping Russia and buying the crude oil. Okay, so most of the countries were criticizing India, but then India said that it is according to our national interest. It is in our national interest that we are going to buy crude oil from Russia. Okay, later that oil was processed and then it was sent to USA and then it was sent to Europe, etc. etc. Okay, then strategic priorities are strengthen defense on and trade alliances and developing critical supply and reduce reliance on China. Okay, just just as India is dependent on uh, China, even the Europe is also dependent on China. So that is why most of the European and Western countries are going for China plus one strategy. China plus one strategy. What is this one? India aims to become this one. Okay, countries are moving away from the Chinese dependence and moving away for another country. Okay, moving away from this China to another country, and India hopes to be that one in this China plus one strategy. And most of the Western countries see India as the one in that China plus one strategy. Okay, so and then fourth one is about defense collaboration, that is encouraging deeper defense ties with Europe, leveraging India's role as a key strategic partner in the Indo-Pacific. Okay, since Europe doesn't have any contiguous or territorial interaction with Indo-Pacific region, India can be seen as a key ally for Europe to play a role in this Indo-Pacific region. Then technology and innovation, the focus should be on joint efforts to dominate emerging technologies like quantum computing, biotechnology, semiconductors, artificial intelligence, etc., etc., etc. So there should be more focus on the technology aspect instead of focusing on free trade, instead of focusing on like other issues, etc., etc. Then it also says that there should be democratic leadership. The article calls for a collective effort among democracies led by India, Europe, and the USA to counter challenges from autocratic blocs. The autocratic blocs, according to the Western countries, are China, Russia, North Korea, or any other country which is led by a dictator or led by a monarchy or something like that. Okay, so here the other from Europe asked India to take a key leadership role in order to promote a democracy. Okay, that is the article. Next article is another one. It is another editorial from the Hindu. It is from Text and Context. It talks about impacts of rupee weakening and what are the key takeaways of it. Okay, in yesterday's topic of the day, we discussed why Indian rupee is falling and what are its impacts. So, in continuation with this, we will be discussing this article. The sharp devaluation of Indian rupee is driven by capital outflows, higher import costs, and policy shift by RBI and policy shift by Federal Bank of USA as well. The structural issues such as rising domestic policies and real exchange rate appreciation further complicate the recovery net projects. Okay, so here the like chart shows the falling rupee trend. Okay, so in April 2004, $1 is equal to 43 rupees, and now that is January 10 2025, 1 rupee is equal to 85.9 or 86 rupees. $1 is equal to 85 point or 86 rupees. Okay, so second chart shows the index values for nominal effective exchange rate and the real effective exchange rate. Okay, so in a nominal effective exchange rate, it is very high. In April 2004, it was 138 rupees and 90 rupees. Now it is in 91.8 rupees. Okay, and then the chart shows the country-wise difference in year and year indices in November 2024. Okay, so here India is at the near changes about 10 in the positive and minus 10 in the negative, whereas China is at the Poland, other countries are that is not important for us. This chart shows about a ratio of nominal values to that of nominal variable cost of not important. Now we'll understand important key takeaways from the article. It talks about recent devaluation. The article says that the reason for recent devaluation of rupee is a devaluation due to capital outflows, higher import costs, and rising crude oil prices. Okay, as a result, the demand for rupee has reduced, whereas demand for dollar has increased. Then structural issues like domestic price inflation and a divergence between nominal and real exchange rates further complicate. Okay, in exchange rate policy, India follows a managed floating exchange rate hedging, allowing RBI to intervene in the foreign exchange market. Okay, there are fixed floating exchange, a fixed exchange rate system, floating exchange rate system, and then there is middle managed floating rate system. It is what India is following. In the past, RBI devalued the rupee during the capital outflows but resisted appreciation during the inflow to maintain export competitiveness. Okay, this is what has reduced the rupee value now. Okay, so initially it reduced the rupee value in order to reduce the capital outflow, but when there are more capital inflows, it refused to appreciate a rupee value. As a result, rupee keeps on devaluing. Then the post-COVID policy shifts, that is between late 2022 and 2024, the RBI adopted a fixed exchange rate like a stance to stabilize the rupee, depleting foreign exchange reserves. Okay, it led to reduced foreign exchange reserves. When the foreign exchange reserves are less, then it will have an impact on rupee value as well. Rupee value depreciates then. The recent return to managed float led to rupee depreciation to reduce strain on reserves. Okay, then macroeconomic implications are there are positives as well as negative. Okay, depreciation will make domestic goods cheaper, potentially boosting the net exports, because we are going to sell our goods in the foreign market. It will make our goods cheaper in the foreign exchange market, but it increases the domestic prices by raising the cost of imported raw materials, leading to inflation. But the imports become costlier. Excuse me. So the domestic industry or domestic like consumers are going to have a hard time dealing with this inflation. Okay, since India has a net importer, it will have negative impacts on India compared to what we are selling at the exports. Okay, then structural constraints are since 2019, the nominal and the real exchange rates have diverged, with real exchange rate appreciating despite the nominal depreciation. Okay, so real exchange rate, that is what is important in the market exchange rate systems. So real exchange rate keeps on appreciating, whereas despite the nominal depreciation. As a result, rupee at the real exchange rate keeps on reducing. Then rising markups by non-financial firms have driven up domestic prices, counteracting benefits of nominal depreciation. Okay, even though there is a depreciation in nominal benefits, meaning the rupee value is increasing nominal exchange rate, but since most of the times the people tend to identify the real exchange rate as a real rate of a rupee or real rate of any currency, as a result rupee's value keeps on depreciating. And other reasons include policy challenges, that is, RBI's inconsistent policy shifts post COVID 19 highlight the need for a clearer and more systematic exchange rate framework. Key questions include whether to revert to the 2010 strategy or adopt a new policy targeting specific economic goals. Okay, so this is a simple article about what is the impact of rupee exchange rates, like rupee depreciation, and what are the reasons for rupee depreciation. Now, there is a relative article in the Hindu only. It talks about RBI steps to boost cross-border transaction in rupee. Okay, since we have seen that rupee is depreciation because it is because there is a capital outflows, rupee is depreciating. So RBI in order to increase the demand for rupee, so it is trying to increase cross-border transactions in rupee. How? So the objective is to promote use of Indian rupee and local currencies for cross-border transactions amidst the rupee depreciation. So key measures are special rupee Vostro account, which was introduced in July 2022 to facilitate trade settlements in Indian rupees. Several foreign banks have opened special rupee Vostro accounts with Indian banks. Okay, so foreign company opening an account in Indian company bank is called as Vostro account. A Indian company opening an account in the foreign company is called as Nostro account. Then repatriable INR accounts, that is, overseas branches of authorized dealer banks can now open INR account for the non-residents. Balances in these accounts can be used for settling permissible current and capital account transactions with Indian residents in the Indian rupees only. Foreign investment including FDI and non-debt instruments in Indian rupees, settling bona fide transactions between non-residents. Okay, so what will be the impact of this? It will increase the demand for rupee, and it will protect rupee from market exchange rate system. Okay, since there is no involvement of dollar here, the demand for dollar is also going to reduce. As a result, rupee's value is going to appreciate. Then trade facilitation, that is, Indian exporters can now open accounts in foreign currency overseas for settling trade transaction. Then global collaboration, the RBA has signed MOUs with the central banks of UAE, Indonesia and Maldives to encourage cross-border transactions in INR and local currencies without the involvement of US dollar. So the significance of these steps aim to reduce reliance on US dollar, strengthen the INR's global acceptance, and offer greater flexibility for international trade and investments. Okay, these points, MOU with the international, that is global central banks of UAE, Indonesia, Maldives becomes very important, and trade facilitation, that exporters can open accounts in the foreign currencies, and this balancing these accounts, it can be, that is, settling settling trade in the Indian rupees only, that is permissible current and capital account transactions with Indian residents and FDI non-debt instruments in Indian rupees, bona fide transaction in Indian rupees is very important. These points are very important, which can be used whenever you are writing about internationalization of rupee or appreciation of rupee, etc. points. Okay, so points become very important. So just make sure that you are writing down these points. They become very important for your mains as well as interview also. So for more videos like this, click the like button and also subscribe to the channel. With this, I will end the video. Jai Hind.